Hello, and welcome to the Hafey Digital Podcast pre-show. I hope we're live. I think we're live. It looks like we're live. So this is the kind of the behind-the-scenes pre-intro portion of the Hafey Digital Podcast. It is during this time when I go through and make sure that all systems are go. All of my equipment is up and ready to roll. And really, it's just because it's hard to time when exactly your stream goes live right on YouTube. So I figured I would make the most of this time, kind of talk through a little bit of pre-show hangout, and I hope you all are having a wonderful day. So right now, I'm just going through, making sure that the live stream is up and running where it's supposed to be, which currently is YouTube, Facebook, personal profile, Twitter, aka Periscope, and Twitch. And as of right now, it looks like everything appears to be up and running, which is great news. Looking at my dropped frames, I don't see any dropped frames. That's fantastic. That means our Wi-Fi signal is good and strong. Let's check our audio. Looking good there. Looking good there. Looking good there. Got our camera angles. We've got a second camera angle. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. Got some other things up my sleeve as well. So that's where we're at. Hope everyone is having a great day. It's Sunday. It's actually on the warm side here in Las Vegas. And when it heats, it's going to be 77 for a high today. I'm wearing shorts. And that's fine. The only issue is that when the weather gets a little warmer here in Las Vegas, the temperature in this room goes up by a few degrees typically. And you know, that along with all this equipment, my PC, which is usually running most, during the day, this room can get a little warm and toasty. And it's just kind of a taste of what's coming this summer, what I deal with every summer, being in this room and trying not to sweat for an hour. But we're going to power through it because that's what we do. So I think everything is ready to go. Move my beverage here a little bit. You can kind of see my straw there. That's fine. And I think we can just go ahead and get into it. Let me title this so I don't forget. Studio updates. All right. Sounds good. Let's roll, shall we? Hello and welcome to episode number 66 of the Hafey Digital Podcast, a show for creators, makers, and doers, where my goal is to help you make to the max. My name is Ryan, and in this episode, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. NFTs, YouTube shorts, and some studio updates. Let's get into it. Thank you for joining me here on the Hafey Digital Podcast. It is episode number 66. If you are new here to the show, well, let me tell you what we're all about here. So, I'm interested in a lot of different things. I wear many different hats. I've done videography, photography, just content creation in general. Been doing some FPV drone flying lately, obviously podcasting, gear stuff, live streaming. I'm into all those things. And this is where I share my knowledge about all those things, but also where, I document my progress through those things, because this podcast is about growth. We're here to learn stuff together, if possible, and to kind of grow and evolve. So that's what we're doing here. That's what I'm here for. And if that's stuff that you might be interested in, then I would invite you to hit that subscribe button wherever you happen to be watching or listening. And also follow me on social media at Ryan Hafey on Instagram and Twitter. Feel free to hit me up over there after the show. Shoot me a question or just say what's up. I'm always happy to talk with people. All right, what is today? Today's the 7th. We're in March now. This was actually a pretty eventful week this past week, just as far as really the studio and just kind of things going on. And I don't have I'm not doing any tutorials today. We're not going to stick to one singular subject. We're going to kind of jump around a little bit today because there were a lot of things that I was thinking about and a lot of things that I did over this past week that I felt would be great to discuss during this episode. And the first of those being a lot of studio updates, or at least a few of them. So let's go through what those are. The first being, I'll show you. Here we go. Hey, Google, turn on fill switch. Ooh, so you can't see it, but over on this wall here, I've been thinking about doing this for a while, and I've probably talked about it a time or two as well. So the situation that I have with this podcast studio, as most of you know, this room is only 12 feet by 12 feet, and this little area here is what's designated as my studio. Everything else is workout equipment. I've got my main source of lighting. Got another camera angle here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Got my main source of lighting here, which is a nice big 36-inch softbox. And then outside of that, I've just got some accent lights back here. But I'd always thought that the lighting on my left side here was a little dim. And I wanted some fill light or a little rim light, something to kind of fill this in and make the dark areas maybe not quite as dark. So I've been thinking for a while about what I should do. Should I maybe get like some strip lights, or maybe just like I don't know what they're called, the kind of like they're just a shape of like a pole, and they're lights, whatever, maybe mounting those up on the ceiling or something. And then I remembered that I have, it was actually the old key light that I used to use, which is like I'd say it's about like a 12-inch diameter, flat panel, circular light. And I used it for a while, but the problem is, it doesn't diffuse as much as I would like, which is why I have this big giant softbox here now. But so I figured, well, I could still put it to use. I'm not doing a whole lot of, filming and client work at the moment because, the pandemic and everything. So might as well put it to use. So went on Amazon and I found these little brackets that have, oh gosh, I don't even know what the connectors are called. But if you're familiar with using video lights and things like that, it's like the little, actually, hold on. I may have something I can show off here. It's Sunday. We're hanging out. Let's see what we got. This was not planned. I'm just over here making a mess. And I just poured out a bunch of stuff onto my desk only to realize that I don't have an example of what I'm looking for in this little patch of mine. So we're going to pretend that none of that just happened, and we're going to continue to move on. But anyway, what it did was it allowed me to mount my old light basically directly to my left. And I purchased a little smart outlet that you can connect with Google Home or Alexa or whatever. So if I want to turn it off, hey Google, turn off fill switch. Hey Google, turn off fill switch. There we go. That worked. But I want it on, so I'm going to turn it back on real quick. Hey, Google, turn on fill switch. All right. So anyway, yeah, it's a nice, quick and easy solution to kind of, well, not quick and easy. In fact, I'm one of those people who can, make a 5-minute install of, whether it's a picture or a shelf or something on a wall, and turn it into something that takes an hour and poke a bunch of extra holes in the wall that don't need to be there. But it's up now, and I think it looks good. And yeah, let me know what you think if you think the new lighting is up to snuff. Other than that, so last week I talked about my camera situation. So I was actually down to just this main camera as of last week for a couple of reasons. So back here, this camera angle used to be a GoPro Hero 7. Now that I'm into FPV, that GoPro is now designated for my FPV drone. So I took that angle away. Here, I used to have my Sony RX100 Mark V, and that camera's great, but I decided to sell it. And the reason I decided to sell it is because really it's not the best for this purpose for what I need it for. So, and really it just comes down to the fact that it would overheat a lot. And that's because I like to take a 4K signal from these cameras right now and then downsample it to 1080p just to get a little bit extra sharpness. And that's mostly because these Sony cameras, the 1080p on these Sony cameras is very soft. So I put it up. I listed the camera. I only had one person reach out, and they wanted to buy it, but they reached out at like 10 o'clock at night, and then they had to travel the next morning and catch an early flight. And I wasn't about to get up and go drive across town just to meet this guy so he could buy the camera. I could have sold it then, but whatever. But other than that, there hasn't been a lot of interest in it, and I could understand why. It's a very small camera, and it's not a cheap camera. It was over $1,000 when I bought it. I'm selling it for 500 with the accessories that it comes with now, so I think it's a pretty good price. But for most people, that's probably a little bit steep if they're just looking for a little point and shoot. But then I decided, we're not getting a lot of pickup right now as far as people wanting to buy it, so might as well continue to put it to use. So I decided to go ahead and use it to replace my old GoPro angle. So right now I have two angles. I've got this one here and I've got the one up there. And last week I also mentioned the Sony ZV-1, which was a camera I was thinking about getting to replace that one because it has many of the same features, a flip out screen, which is better than the flip up screen on the Sony RX100 in my opinion. And it also doesn't have the overheating issues that the RX100 has. Excuse me. So I went ahead and bought it. It's not here yet. It comes in, I think, on Tuesday. But, we may just be at the point where we're going to keep the RX100 and we're just going to have 3 Sony angles. And then I'll have one here, one up there, and just be Sony all across the board and be back to 3 quality camera angles, I guess. Now, so what I've done here with the RX100 is I bit the bullet a little bit and changed the resolution down to 1080p. So it's no longer transmitting 4K signal to the ATEM and then being downsampled to 1080. It's just coming out as 1080. And in these few tests that I've done so far, that seems to help prevent some of the overheating issues. So I may be losing a little bit in the realm of, and you probably, given this is a live stream, you probably can't even tell on YouTube. But if you pixel peep like I do, you'll know that this is a lot softer than the 4K used to be. But hey, for kind of like a wide behind the scenes shot, I'm all right with it. So yeah, we're gonna get the ZV-1. The ZV-1 also shoots 4K up to 30, and again, without the overheating issues, we should be able to get that nice, crisp, sharp, look from this angle here, which will be cool. And that's it. So who knows? Maybe I'll just take that one off the market and hang on to it because it's still a good camera. It's just doesn't tick all the boxes, I guess. And then finally, as far as studio updates are concerned, oh, and by the way, with this angle now too, you can see my, this was previously my main monitor. This was the LG 27-inch 4K. And luckily on its base, it flips sideways. So this is my monitor setup now. I've got my BenQ 32-inch and then the LG 4K vertical, which is what I've wanted for a long time. It actually goes all the way up to here, just out of frame. But I've wanted this for a super long time, and now I got it, and I love this combination. It's awesome. Finally, as far as studio updates are concerned, I bit the bullet, and I got the Cloudlifter. And the Cloudlifter is a little, I can't show you because it's currently connected, but the Shure SM7B microphone, which is this one, is traditionally a quiet microphone, and it often needs a little bit of extra gain in order to get the levels out of it that you might want. So a lot of people will pair it with a device called a Cloudlifter. It's just a little blue box. You plug, the microphone gets plugged in on one end, and then out of the other end that goes into your audio interface. In my case, it's the Rodecaster Pro. Now, I had seen some reviews previously that have mentioned that, because the Rodecaster has some decent audio processing options, including gain and compression and things like that, that you wouldn't need a Cloudlifter with it. And up until now, I had done pretty well with the combination of just the Shure and the Rodecaster. But I had received a comment or two about the Cloudlifter being used in their setup, and the commenters enjoying it and being happy with it. So I figured I might as well go for it. I haven't done a whole lot of comparison testing back and forth, but I didn't realize a ton of difference. That said, I do need to play with some. I'm going to unhook it, and I'm going to probably do some comparisons for a future podcast or maybe a video on my main channel, and just show some of the the difference in audio quality and maybe the difference in the compressor settings that I put into place with and without the Cloudlifter. And that could probably easily do that with just designate. Now I'm just kind of talking to myself. Forget what I said. Anyway, we have Robert Reed in the chat. Robert Reed from the Never Call Me Again podcast. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this yet, but I'm going to. Sorry, Robert. But I spoke with Robert on Friday. He interviewed me for his podcast. Again, it's called Never Call Me Again. And over there, he talks to, seems like mostly smaller creators, kind of up-and-coming artists and creators. And, he just reached out and said, hey, I'd be interested in talking to you on the podcast. And we had a great, long conversation about just podcasting, YouTube, gear, kind of strategy, all that kind of stuff. And it was a really fantastic interview. That episode should be coming out soon. Don't know exactly when, but Robert, thanks for watching. And be sure to go check out his YouTube channel and his podcast. Never Call Me Again. Again is what it's called. Anywho. All right. So let's move on from the studio updates and let's talk a little bit about some of the topics that I wanted to talk about today. The first being, now both of these things, by the way, so we're going to be talking about YouTube Shorts and we're going to be talking about NFTs. Now, neither of these are things that have expertise in at the moment. These are just things that I've just recently started learning about, but I plan to learn more about them and try to be more involved with them. So if you're watching this to get advice or a full explanation on what these things are, you're in the wrong place. But if you're here because you just kind of want to get an introduction and because you want to follow along with me as far as through my process of learning about these things, well then follow along. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about YouTube Shorts first. YouTube Shorts is, from what I understand, kind of YouTube's answer to TikTok and to Instagram Reels and things like that. So, as far as I know, currently there are only certain areas in the world where the YouTube Short camera feature is available. I think in India right now they're testing it out. And basically, when you would compose a new video, you get the option to do so through the YouTube Shorts camera within the app. And YouTube Shorts, basically, it's minute-long videos that are shot vertically, 60 seconds or less. You shoot them vertically, and you upload those to YouTube, and they're sort of kept separate from the main, like the longer form content that's not a short per se. And much like TikTok and Reels, how they are pushing those features, especially on Instagram with Reels, because again, Reels was kind of their answer to TikTok. They currently are really pushing Reels content heavily because they want more people to use the feature, obviously. And YouTube Shorts is kind of what YouTube's doing to try to grab that attention back, I guess you would say. But because again, it's a new feature on YouTube, they are really putting an emphasis on people using it, and they are promoting a lot of that content in sections like on the YouTube website. So, I've been thinking for a while now of how I want to sort of reignite my my main YouTube channel. And I've talked about it a little bit. I think I've settled on the type of content that I want to do. And what I think I really want to start doing over there, I've gone back and forth about this a number of times. I want to get back into tutorial content, and I want to create super quick and easy bite-size content, tutorial content. Something that, I think for me personally, that's something that's missing when it comes to tutorial content on YouTube, is that, you watch these videos, they're these long videos, there's usually a big introduction and a whole lot of context that's baked in to the tutorial that you don't really need. If I'm out and I'm looking for a tutorial or something like that on YouTube, for me, I want to be able to get right to the meat of it. I don't want to have to sit and listen to 5 minutes of, why you decided to make this tutorial or a bunch of useless context. It's like, no, this is a thing that I'm seeking out to try to figure out how to do. Just tell me how to do it. So I wanted, and I did that. I did what was called 31 days of tutorials, where I released a new tutorial for every day for 31 days. And they were meant to be super, short, bite-sized tutorials that you could just kind of get in and get out. And those remain some of the most popular videos on my channel, just because they're evergreen, and all the comments are, man, this saved me so much time. Thanks for getting right to the point. And that to me makes me feel good, because those are, not only are those relatively simple to make, but I can do them quickly, I can get them out, and I can help people. And they may not be the types of videos that blow up like crazy right away, but over time, once people start to discover them, they'll be able to help people, they'll be able to get views, and they'll be able to provide people with a lot of value for a long time. So I say all that because I think YouTube Shorts is probably going to be a good way for me to get into doing that. So that's what I'm gonna do, or at least that's what I'm planning to do. So I think YouTube Shorts for me, if I can come up and create 60-second tutorials and get them uploaded on a consistent basis, 1 or 2 of them a week, for me that's going to be a win. And I think that's where I want to start. And then if I have some ideas that are going to take longer, if I want to do a little vlogging, or if I want to do a more in-depth tutorial on something a little bit more complex, which I've done in the past, then I can just upload a regular, YouTube video. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. I think YouTube Shorts is interesting. And the way that it works, apparently, for someone who doesn't have, so what I understand is that YouTube Shorts is open to everyone. It's just that the YouTube Shorts camera is only open to certain markets. So if you wanted to upload a YouTube short for yourself, you would record either on your phone, or you could, edit it together. Oh, there go the dogs. But you would record a 60-second or less vertical video. I think it has to be over 15 seconds. And then you would upload it and put hashtag shorts either in the title or the description. I've also heard conflicting reports that you don't necessarily need to include the hashtag shorts, but I'm going to, just because, just to increase my chances of it being recognized by YouTube as a short. And I'm just going to give it a shot and see what happens, see where it goes, and see if I enjoy it. So we have Fonzarelli Gaming in the chat. Hey man, cool setup. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. This is so I've said before, this is my playground. So I take good care of it. So yeah, YouTube Shorts. I want to try that out. Now, the next and the final thing. Let's see, how long have we been doing this here? 23 minutes. That's not bad. So NFTs. Let's talk about NFTs for a minute. For those of you, well, if anyone listening or watching has been on Clubhouse at any time in the past few months, you've noticed that every other room is a room related to the topic of NFTs. For those of you who don't know, NFT stands for Non-Fungible Token. Now, again, I'm going to give that same disclaimer. I'm very early in the NFT space. I have not created an NFT. I've not traded or purchased an NFT. I'm only going based on what I've heard so far. But what I've heard so far is incredibly interesting, and I want to learn more about it. So NFT stands for Non-Fungible Token. And from what I understand, what NFTs do is it allows digital creators. It's sort of like protection for digital creators. So let's say you're a painter, and you paint an original painting. You could sell that original painting, and you can give someone, you can have proof, like, this is my original work. You paid for it. You now own this original. Now, that person could create reproductions of that painting and distribute them, but there's still only one original of that painting, and that's clearly going to have the most value over all those other reproductions. What NFTs do, apparently, is it gives that same type of protection. Protection is maybe not the right word, but it gives digital artists the ability to sell their original work as a one of one, per se. So, and it's all done on the blockchain again, which is another thing that's super complex. I own a little bit of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but beyond that, I don't have an extreme or, a super in-depth knowledge of how the blockchain works, as I think that's probably the case for most people, even people who also own Bitcoin. But so the way that it works apparently is let's say you create a digital piece of artwork. It could be a 3D rendering. It could be some photography. It could be a drawing. As long as it's in digital form, you would then mint, M-I-N-T, mint it within the NFT ecosystem. And then you put a price on it that someone can purchase it for. I think right now Ethereum is the blockchain that people are using mostly with NFTs. And you sell it, and then people are spending crazy amounts of money on the privilege of owning a one of one digital artwork piece, right? So someone sent me a link the other day. I just read the headline, so I apologize if I'm butchering any of this, but the headline was basically saying that Banksy, the popular street artist, someone purchased one of his pieces and one of his artworks for $95,000, I believe it was, and then proceeded to mint it and then destroy the original art piece, I believe. So now this Banksy art piece exists only in digital form, and I assume the plan is for them to sell it in digital form and make a bunch of money off of it. That's really interesting to me. I think that there's possibilities for, well, just with any new industry, you're going to have people that come in and try to game the system. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that when it comes to NFTs. A lot of what people ask is like, well, who's stopping anyone from, taking a reproduction of a digital artwork and trying to mint that and sell that? I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure people are probably going to try to do that, but I think there's also processes in place that, for the creators to make it known that, no, this is the original piece, regardless of what you may have. So yeah, so when you purchase an NFT, you essentially, you own the original of that digital art piece. And then the cool thing about it too is as the creator, as the original seller, you can also set it up to where, if someone purchases your piece of art and then they sell it again, you can receive a certain percentage of that selling price. So as that piece of art exchanges hands, you're earning additional royalties as it goes along. And that's something that, again, digital creators have really not been able to take advantage of. So it's pretty cool to see. And there's also some other examples of people doing some really creative things with it. For example, Logan Paul. I know Logan Paul gets a lot of hate, but we got to bring him up because he's, it's interesting. These young guys, these younger creators, I mean, they're established, but they're still young guys, but they're coming in and doing interesting things with these types of things. I can only imagine what Mr. Beast is eventually going to do with it. Wet and whistle there. But what Logan did, from what I understand, is he created or had a designer create, I think it was 3,000, again, please double check me because I don't have all the details here, but from what I remember, he had a graphic designer create a design for kind of what looked like Logan Paul, like illustrated playing cards. And they minted 3,000 of them, if I remember correctly. And I think they opened it up for sale. You know what? We're going to look this up in real time because I don't want to butcher this. This is an interesting story. Logan Paul. Let's see. Headline of this: Logan Paul sells $5 million worth of NFTs ahead of his Pokemon box break. So this is on a website, by the way, called tubefilter.com. I've never heard of TubeFilter. Let's see if I can find maybe a better resource. No offense to TubeFilter. I'm just going to go back into that one. Let's see if it has any info for me here. Paul partnered to create and distribute the tokens with a company called Bondly, a peer-to-peer exchange that enables trading across any chain. A set of 3,000 NFTs dropped on February 19th, with each selling for one Ethereum, which I think it's like Ethereum right now is like $1,700 if I'm not mistaken. During their first day on the market, 1,772 NFTs were purchased, with Ethereum being valued at roughly $2,000 at the time. Oh, okay. For a total of roughly $3.5 million in sales, Paul sold $1 million worth of NFTs in 30 minutes after dropping them. And yesterday they climbed to $5 million with a total of 2,586 sold. And then there were 414 left over after, I guess, the time period they made them they're available for, and then they destroyed those, so they will never be available again. Let's see, Wesley Smith chimed in the chat. Drone pilot podcaster and big fight photographer. Is there anything else you don't do? Setup looks great. Thanks, Wesley. It's good to hear from you, man. Hope you're doing well. I appreciate that. So back to the Logan Paul NFT thing. What's interesting about this is that this opens the door for like a certain level of exclusivity as well. So in theory, what I've heard is that what Logan Paul can do with these is, he can use them as tickets or tokens or kind of like, just like tickets basically. So let's say he wants to host a private event for only NFT holders. Like I would say, shoot, if I'm going to spend $2,000 on one of these things, I would hope, especially if it's not going to be one of one, I would hope that I could get some value out of that. So, if maybe he hosts some exclusive online event or maybe some exclusive in-person event in the future, and only people who hold these NFTs can attend them. That's pretty interesting. So we're very early in the game. There's a website called OpenSea, which is one of the first. I'm sure there's more out there. This is the one that I see that keeps popping up, but this is like a marketplace for NFTs. And you can just kind of look through there and you can see some of the artwork that's being sold and traded. Some of it looks super simple. Some of it's pretty interesting. Some stuff is there and available to be bid on. But yeah, there's this huge market that's emerging now for people who want to own original digital artwork. And I think the sky's the limit from here. Like it's getting buy-in from, guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, and there's a Clubhouse room the other day with, like Diplo and Steve Aoki talking about NFTs as far as music goes. So the possibilities are endless. I'm interested in, dipping my toes, maybe just on the photography side, taking some of my old photography and converting that into NFTs and just kind of see what happens with it. Just more of an experiment than anything. I just noticed my straw's been sticking in the frame here the whole time. That's okay. But yeah, so what I would love, if anybody, because I'm sure because NFTs are such a hot topic right now, this video is probably going to be watched by a few people who are interested or at least know something about NFTs. I would love it if you do know more than what I know, or if I'm saying anything incorrect, correct me down in the comments below, but also, give me some resources. Are there any links to websites or videos that you've watched or read that are helping you kind of learn more about this new industry? If so, I want to learn more, and I plan to talk about this more because I think, especially for creators, for digital creators, this could be huge, and this could be a means for people to earn more of a living and not get, not have their digital work stolen, which I think happens all too often. So yeah, let's keep an eye on that. And that's March 7th, 2021 is when we talked about that. We're going to revisit this down the line because I want to see where this is going to go. But anyway, let's see. We've been at this for 34 minutes. It's getting warm in this room. I think I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. But if you're still with me and if you enjoyed what you heard or saw, it would be awesome if you could hit that subscribe button for me. Also follow me on social media at Ryan Hafey on Instagram and Twitter. And do not hesitate to reach out to me. Shoot me a message over there. I'm always happy to talk to people. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. So thanks so much again for being with me here. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.